Hi guys, Mosk here, back with some more Guild Ball, and here we have Skatha's Hunters versus Rivet's Engineers. My team from the left is Edge, Snow, Skatha, Jakar, Veteran Minx, and Batagi. And the Engineers have Fuse, Veteran Velocity, Mainspring, Rivet, Colossus, and Spade. The Engineers won the roll-off to kick, and Fuse has the ball. So I haven't had much practice receiving with Skatha, and I don't really know what to do. So I've deployed my team, relatively spread out, so they can cover a good portion of the pitch to retrieve the ball wherever it goes. So ideally what I'm looking to do is try to score a goal, right? So I don't really know what my opponent can do. There's some new models, it's a new captain, but I assume most guilds can score a first turn goal if they kick. So we assume that's going to happen, because I really have very few ideas about how to stop it. So the idea is I will retrieve the ball with Snow wherever it goes, and set up Skatha with the instincts to get through the armour, because Skatha is going to try to get the return goal. I don't think anyone else on my team is fast enough to be capable to do it, but let's say someone passes the ball to Skatha, she can dodge 4 inches up the pitch. She can then, in her activation, make a snowball, pass it to someone else to dodge another 4 inches, and then if there's any of my opponent's team sort of in this area, I will be able to either sprint or charge at them, generate momentum, bounce off them and get a goal. That's an ideal world. If my opponent doesn't have models in this area of the pitch by the time Skatha activates for her goal run, I can't get it. If they're too close to the goal, I probably can't reach them. If they're too far up in this area, for one thing, they'll block my run unless I manage to dodge into engagement with them, or else me hitting them means I probably can't bounce off them far enough to get into goal range. So really, enemies here, green light. Enemies here, or like there, probably red light. And if there's an enemy here, then I might be able to dodge into them, bounce off them, and then walk or run into goal range. So green light, red light, green light, red light is how I think about this. But first of all, can I do anything to impede the striker? First of all, I would like to get the ball onto Veteran Minx, as she's 4-1 naturally, which is probably, other than Skatha, Batagi, I mean, possibly could try to get the ball into Batagi. He's a 5 to hit, so if we get the ball way out here, the striker's got to go. The striker is almost always the person who starts by kicking. They've got to go maximum distance, and then he's quite tricky to hit, and he's got a tackle. So getting the ball on Batagi early would be the ideal. Then passing down the line to Skatha to generate momentum would be good. Minx is not a bad ball target. She's great if I can somehow damage the striker first, but that's probably not going to happen. So yeah, looking at this, maybe I don't like my deployment quite. I think it could be better. Fuse has got the ball. Fuse is the one that's going to be kicking. The ball is basically going to end up in this sort of area, highly likely. I want to use one of my unimportant activations to collect the ball. Usually that's Snow. But essentially the ball is going to be in this area, and I want to get it over here to Mataki. If I'm going to collect it with Snow, then we'll swap Snow and Skatha's positions, so Snow can use a sprint to collect the ball in this sort of area, and be able to finish off his movement, I don't know, around here. It's getting a bit much, but if the ball ends sort of centrally here, Snow being here, could get it, could sprint, maybe get to Atagi. But probably Snow's not the ball collector in this scenario. We need a bigger, more reliable kick. Veteran Minx could collect it if it goes more centrally and try to get it to Matagi. Maybe Matagi needs to be a bit closer over here to be able to make this work. Or if it comes out over here, potentially Edge could sprint. She doesn't really have any native movement tricks, but an ideal world would be Edge sprints, Edge kicks the ball, and Matagi is definitely going to have to be closer, and then puts her snared on the striker. That could be a decent way to collect the ball. In all the scenarios, Skatha being here is probably not where I need her. I was thinking sort of direct line, but I might need her slightly over to enable sort of the ball collection machinery to get working. I'm not sure, I haven't really thought about it. This is just me kind of thinking things up on the fly. If you have suggestions for how to best receive the ball as Skatha in general and in specific scenarios such as the one we have here, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. It helps me get better at the game without me having to think too hard. My opponent's deployment is sort of interesting. Again, he's gone for more of a clumped up formation. I don't know if this is standard for kicking teams or for this particular engineer's setup. I suspect it's to do with Rivet. She's got some sort of power to like pull people towards her, and I think that's the main reason why he's done that, to help get his team up the pitch a bit faster. It also would work quite well if I was to go for my goal run, let's say with Skatha. Then I want gaps between models so that I can dodge through them or get line of sight to goal. And clumping up there on his goal, on his kind of like deployment line, until he breaks that formation, sort of makes it difficult for me to get one of them, or like get to one of them without being in someone else's engagement range and losing me dice. I mean, I'd have to go for the edge models, I'd be able to dodge out, I would be able to get a bead on the goal, but it sort of makes it a little bit trickier. So that's my hand. I think I got some pretty good cards. I think I was happy with my cards. Not that I think they make massive difference overall. Your positioning and dice make a bigger difference, but I've got a good mix of mids, I've got a high, I've got a low that gives me lots of, I think it's like 2 extra influence. And I've got like the one that's healing. They're all really useful, so yes, I'm liking those. So the kick goes out and ends up against one of these barrels. We weren't sure if you kick it through, like if the line, where the ball ends up went past through the forest, would it hit the forest and stop? We weren't sure, so my opponent decided to just play it safe and put it out over here. Again, tell me in the comments if you know how that interaction works. And yeah, so as I said, my idea at this point is to use Snow to collect the ball, pass it to Minx, who I think would be relatively hard to hit, wait for their striker to come in, basically get Skatha an edge up pitch to threaten a counter goal, and basically beat on the striker with J-Car. I haven't really given him much influence. I think I've given Snow more influence than usual, because I want him to sprint to get to distance to take the pass to Minx, and I want to put the anatomical precision on Skatha. So really, I think I probably should have put some more influence on J-Car, especially like he is almost always going to be able to get someone if they're kicking him. So I need to make sure that I use him to his full potential to put as much damage and gather me as much momentum as possible in this first turn. I do like putting lots of influence on Skatha, so maybe when kicking, because of how hard it actually seemed to be to get the counter goal in the first turn, maybe I take some influence off Skatha and put it on J-Car. So, as it turns out, Snow collects the ball. Snow could not get into range to pass to Minx, so he passed it to J-Car. J-Car did not dodge, we retained the momentum, and Fuse went in, using all their diggy hole movement bollocks, got into range with J-Car and tackled him. J-Car tackled him back, and then Fuse did not have enough influence left to take the shot. So I think Fuse then knocked down J-Car, causing the ball to scatter over between Skatha and Snow. No one snapped it. That might have been a mistake. My thinking of not snapping it was that no one on his team, I'm sure, can get this ball. So the idea is that Edge is going to walk up and just use her thing to kick it to Skatha to generate me momentum, or else get Skatha up the pitch. So that's why I didn't snap it. And so now, yeah, Fuse is in a bad spot. They've missed the first turn goal. It's looking bad for the Engineers. So, because I did not put as much influence on J-Car as I wanted, I didn't load him up, and I had loads of influence on Skatha, that would have all gone to waste if I had moved Skatha up to try and go on a goal run. I was pretty sure I couldn't make it, so what I ended up doing was moving Minx over to help crowd out Fuse. Skatha snapped the ball, put down her fast ground, kicked it to Edge, who then dodged up and then went over to beat on Fuse. So Fuse is really badly hurt. I think Mitagi also snapshotted him or used his free playbook thing to put some damage and bleed on. So Fuse is now going to die at the end of the turn, and Edge used her Mirage trick to basically get over to be a goal threat next turn. Now this was not as easy as I thought it was going to be initially when I was planning out this move, because if I put her out over here, if she's not in range to get to anyone, I can't go until someone else comes in range. If she can't get to them, they can't get to her because she's quite fast. I don't know how it works out, but yeah, if she's not in range to do anything, she's just sat out here vulnerable, not being able to really take advantage of this position. So I couldn't put her too far out towards the edge, especially if Fuse is going to die and come back in and just like take the ball off her. So I'm not sure how good this move was, but hey ho. My opponent made what I feel was quite a big mistake in that he used his Rivet, which is a good thing to like pull all his team up, but I felt his mistake was moving up Spade really quite far in order to get into range to then spend his momentum to heal Fuse. So the Fuse is going to end this turn on 1 wound, which is perfect for me. I really don't want to kill Fuse, because if I do, Fuse comes back on over here and immediately threatens getting the ball off me. And then Engineers are have a really good position to then feed the ball through to score, and I haven't really got anyone else upfield to take advantage of you getting the ball back, or even once the ball gets kicked out again, because I'm very bunched up in my deployment zone. So Fuse dying here I think is really bad for me, and him saving Fuse really helped, because now he's got a model that basically can't do anything next turn. It's on 1 wound, it's going to get killed immediately, so he can't give it any influence and it can't really do anything. It could be a snapshot target, I guess. And looking at Jakar's position, I think his activation, I used momentum to stand him up, I hit Fuse to bring him to like 1 wound or something, and dodged him out of Fuse's engagement, and walked him up over to I think Rivet, hit her to put her some damage, dropped a trap, and then back to the shadowed, but like dropped the trap, hit her, dodged, and then back to the shadowed, back to this position, I think is what I did with him. So going into turn 2, I have massive momentum lead, so I play my low number card and get myself 2 influence for this turn and still go first. It's just massive, and I think my opponent puts tough hide on Spade. So yeah, top of turn 2, things look like this. Again, imagine Fuse is dead and is coming back on pitch here. That would be a real threat for me. As things stand, this is great. I have put myself in position to be able to get the early goal run, can happily take this guy out whenever I want. This is what, I don't know if I've introduced this concept of mine in my previous videos, but I think of Guild Ball as a game as having like a red thread. There's like one track to victory. It's like fated. So it's like the fate track here, the red thread at this point in the game is I score goal with Edge. He's got a line of dudes, so pretty happily, ball gets kicked out, he's probably going to score, gets kicked out again. Maybe I put it on this guy, but I don't have an immediate kind of snapback position here, so the thread begins to get a bit frayed. Like there's uncertainty, but I've got enough influence to be able to push out and start to like put pressure on his midfield by damaging people, getting myself into position, and then maybe like if he doesn't deal with Edge, who's still lurking here, and I put the ball out on Matagi, then maybe Matagi's got a massive kick, he can just run in the next turn and get another goal. So I can't see past that part of the thread at this point in the game, but I'm happy that my team has the ability to get into positions and the damage to sort of like contest the midfield to put things in my favour. So I get to activate first. I go with Edge. Edge. What did I do? I think I sprint up to get into good position. Put my snared on him as the playbook play. Hit him and dodge a billion inches out. I couldn't get into like the short pass range, whatever that range is called of the goal. And I didn't have the momentum, to bonus time the kick. So I just do my 3 dice kick. And I miss! Oh, Edge. And so the ball just goes right there, and I think just snaps to mainspring. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky over the last few games I've played. My dice generally at least roll to the average. Unfortunately, did not happen this time. So resigned myself to a bit of a tough game now. So as the rest of the term shapes up, We easily kill Fuse. The engineers all bundle onto Edge and kill her, and Mainspring or someone gets the ball out to, I think that looks like that Spade. We tried to kill her with J-Car, but thanks to the tough hide, she survived it, badly wounded, and managed to get away. And Skatha is at this point dropping a cold snap on the entire Engineers team in revenge for what happened to Edge. We tried to get goals. Let the record show we tried to get goals. So we go into next turn. I bring Edge back on the pitch over here, and I think people had extra movement. I can't see the cards, but I played the card that gives one of my squaddies extra movement and one of their squaddies extra movement. Edge just runs up over here, but I forgot about Fuse being able to come back on, and so now I'm a little bit worried because she is not a combat piece. But the idea of putting extra movement on J-Car is that I will be able to get to the ball, basically, and see if I can get the ball off this Joker and back into play. So my opponent has a nasty habit of trying to kill the ball. I think I go with J-Car, and I want to say I kill Spade, and the ball bounces out over here, not very helpfully, and I back to Shadows J-Car over here maybe. Surprised I put him that far up close to the edge. J-Car has ended up here for whatever reason. I think I would have killed it, dodged, and then back to the Shadows, and maybe something like, I can't remember if he has things that can like knock you away from range. He might have done that. J-Car's clearly been knocked down by something. But in any case, what ends up happening is there's a big scrum in the middle of the pitch. Rivet and Veteran Velocity must have moved up forwards, and I end up surrounding them with my dudes. We kill Rivet through coordinated effort and damage Veteran Velocity pretty badly because we managed to snare her, put her in a Harrier, and yeah, so she's bleeding and not looking happy. I tried to just walk away from this guy, Fuse, that's his name, and ended up getting knocked down for my troubles, which was really bad. Like, if I had just, I don't know, just stayed there and passed my activation. You can see my clock is running down a bit. I need to start to be kind of very conservative with my activations at the moment, or from this point on, and it would have been 100 times better just to pass the activation, eat no clock, and not get knocked down. So I think this is turn 4 now. I play Hit 'em Where It Hurts. My opponent plays Lock Them Down. I forget who we put these conditions on. And now we've got some terrible pictures. I will skip over these pretty quickly, but essentially the engineer is repositioned to kind of control this area of the pitch, and I'm controlling the centre. We really struggled to bring down Veteran Velocity. It takes me more of, like, I wanted to do it in a single model's activation, and it takes me multiple. Mainspring wins the race between the mascots to get to the ball. J-Car's still in a pickle over here, knocked down. I've still got Edge in a pickle here, knocked down. And so basically, this is all really awkward. Like, not being able to kill Velocity easily here meant that it took me extra activations that in order to kill her, so that the enemy could like heal her up, which means I had to leave both my characters knocked down. Oh, this is Matagi failing to kill the Harried Velocity, who had some influence. So yeah, basically, she's got a decent stack of influence. She's points on the board that's easy for me to kill. Yeah, she's really badly hurt. Matagi totally had the ability to bring her past her reanimate and kill her again, and he whiffed, which then meant that someone, I think Minx, had to go finish the job, which meant that J-Car was easily pushed off the pitch and in between those activations, and then Fuse managed to push Edge off the pitch with, I think my opponent said there was some decently lucky rolls there. I thought I sort of resigned myself to the fact she was going off, but apparently it wasn't as a done deal as I thought it might be. Just really annoying. Like, I could have stood her up and made it harder, much harder for him to knock her off the pitch. So the ball was over here, and I saw my opportunity to go in and get the winning goal. So Skatha legendaries, she like runs through Colossus, bounces off him into range of Spade, and I whiff one of my attacks, I think, which means I can't get the ball off him through close control, which means I then don't have the influence to take the shot. And now I have got Skatha in the middle of the enemy team, right by the edge. So guess what's going to happen to her? Yes, that's right. They all gang up on her, knock her down, and push her off the edge. The ball is in the engineer's possession. and this game is very much now on a knife edge. So we go into turn 5. We both, we both go for that. Go for it. The engineers get the first activation this turn. Fucking terrible picture. Sorry guys. I think I was in like a dim part of the room, and my camera can't hack it. So yeah, let's just move on from that. Fuse runs the fuck away from all my people who are coming in to kill him. I am able to use Skatha to kick J-Car into range to go get him. I need to hit 3 push dodges to push this guy off the pitch, and I whiff and can't do it. We did kill Fuse in the end with Matagi. So essentially, the engineers have also killed Snow, so they're on 9 victory points. And Spade decided to go up at the end of the turn. Basically, we've taken table halves on the opposite side of the pitch from each other. The engineers are staying well away from the hunters with the ball and are making their way up pitch to go for their goal run. And yeah, there's basically, I just can't get to them apart from Minx. So we go into the final turn. Minx and I am on, like you can see my clock, I'm on 1 minute 49 seconds. We're both about to clock out and the game hangs in the balance. Yeah, so we're right down to the last seconds. I win the initiative and charge Minx at Spade. My opponent makes an error in that he doesn't counterattack the first attack. So I charge and basically end up putting a load of damage, as much, or like doing 2 damage, and he counterattacks the last hit, which causes him to dodge, and I had another trap put out here, and he dodges through the trap and dies, basically, causing me to win the game. Hunter's victory 12-9, but if he had counterattacked the first hit, then he could have dodged out without taking the extra damage and would have survived. I would have clocked out. The game floats for the engineers. But that's what happens. A clutch kill from Minx. 12-9 to the Hunters. No goals scored. What an embarrassment. And this felt like the most nail-biting game I think I've ever played. Oh, there we go. Dodging through the trap to his death. So yeah, absolute nail-biter. Thoughts post-game. I think this is one of those unlucky ones where the dice go against you at key moments. Edge's goal miss, shot miss, obviously set me back a bit. And then certain things like Matagi not being able to finish off Velocity, meaning that I couldn't stand Edge up before she got pushed off the pitch, or else risk not being able to kill Velocity, and Skatha whiffing her sort of game-ending goal run, a bit unfortunate. I felt this was an interesting engineers team. The miners are real superstars. I'd heard Rivet was a really strong piece. I can't, obviously only one game, can't really tell for sure, but she seemed decent. I like that ability to reposition lots of her team's models. That seems really strong. But otherwise, I felt in this game she encouraged my opponent to fall into a bit of a trap in that he ended up bunching up his team in places where I could pick them apart, because ultimately my team puts out more damage more easily and gets me momentum for it than his team. So almost any scenario where we handshake a fight, I'm going to win. And I'm starting to feel this might be a pretty broadly applicable concept, as if you've got to look at your team and ask the question, do I outfight the enemy team? If no, you want to spread out more and avoid fighting on equal terms. Because if you don't outfight the enemy team, then you better hope you out-football them. You've got to have something going for you, and it's easier to play the football game if you spread your pieces out across the pitch more. So I think unless he's going to start bringing 1 or 2 more pieces that have easy access to decent momentous damage, I would consider trying a different approach to positioning. Yeah, that was the game. Super fun as always. Slowly learning my hunters. Really enjoying this team composition, although it has to be said, I feel my team comp really heavily counters engineers, at least from what I've seen so far. Don't know how Ballista might change the equation. But yeah, great fun and really looking forward to the next one. Take care.